So I mentioned horizontal lines briefly in that last video. So a horizontal line, if we draw our axes, is just a flat line that we're graphing. And it's going to have some y-intercept, and then the slope of this line is actually 0. So we have some value for b, m is 0. So if we make this, if we're following that y equals mx plus b, and we have some value for b, but m is just equal to 0, what we're going to end up with in terms of an equation is y equals b. So a horizontal line isn't going to have x part of the equation, it's just going to be giving us a y value. And the idea is that no matter what x value we have, it doesn't matter what x is, we're always getting this same value of b out. So plugging in x doesn't do anything in terms of a calculation, so we don't need it. Then with vertical lines, this is where our line's going up and down. This one's a little trickier because the slope for this is actually undefined. If we tried to calculate it, we would end up with 0 in the denominator. So with this, using the y equals mx plus b form gets tricky because m is undefined, and that kind of makes everything fall apart. But what we can use here is, so we'd have some value for x. Let's call it c. Just some number. It could be positive, it could be negative, it could be 0. The idea is that no matter what y value we have, x is staying the same. So with that, we don't need y as part of our calculation. We just know that for every value, x is equal to that value c. So when we make the equation for the vertical line, we're going to have x equals, and then whatever the number is. So let's try this out. So write an equation for each graph below. So on the left-hand side here, we have a graph of a horizontal line. And what we can see is that we have our intercept at y equals 2. Also, just consistently, no matter what x is, so if x is equal to 4, y is equal to 2. If x is equal to negative 6, y is equal to 2. No matter what x is, we're getting y equals 2 out. So this is graphing the equation y equals 2. And on the right-hand side here, we have a vertical line at positive 3. So with this case, we have all these x values of 3. So it doesn't matter what y is, it's not part of the calculation. No matter what, we're getting an x value of 3 out. So on this right-hand side, since it's a vertical line, we'll just have x equals, and in this case, positive 3. So those are horizontal vertical lines. Something else to notice in terms of functions, the horizontal line is a function, like that would pass our vertical line test. The vertical line is not a function. In fact, when we draw a vertical line there, it fails the vertical line test all over the place. And that's part of this slope being undefined too, like we can't fit it to this y equals mx plus b form. So vertical lines, not a function. Horizontal lines are a function.